Hi everyone, this is Teacher Jen and we will discuss a lesson from Essential Grammar in Use book by Raymond Murphy. Today we will continue a lesson about the verbs was and were. Was and were. So if you can still remember, we discussed this in the part 1 of our video. Let's have a review. So we use the verbs am, is, and are for present tense, and was and were for past tense. I hope you can also remember Robert here. Now, let's go on to the next part of our lesson. In here, we have a table, and as you can see, we have a list of the pronouns that we can use for each of the following verbs. Now, let's discuss the first box. As you can see, we have pronouns here. We have the pronouns I, he, she, and it. So, if you have noticed, all of these pronouns are singular, meaning one. So that means it should take a singular verb too. And now we are talking about past tense, so that means these pronouns should take the verb was. So let's read them one by one. I was. I was. He was. He was. She was. She was. It was. It was. So, everyone, remember, these pronouns are all singular and it takes the singular past form of the verb was. Now, let's go on to the next. Here, we have the pronouns we, you, and they. If you have noticed, all of these pronouns are plural. Of course, except for the pronoun you, because we have a grammar rule for you. It takes the plural verb. So, again, we will read the following together with the verb. We were. We were. You were. You were. They were. They were. So again, everyone, our pronouns here are all plural, so that means they will take the plural form of the verb were. Now, let's go on to the second box. So here, as you have noticed, we just have the same list of pronouns, but this time we are making negative statements here. Why? Because we have the word not. Unlike here, we made positive statements here because that means our sentences would be positive or yes sentences. While here, negative sentences, that means no. Now, let's read the following. I was not. I wasn't. He was not. He wasn't. She was not. She wasn't. It was not. It wasn't. Now, let's go on to the plural pronouns. So, like here, we will use the plural form of the verb were, but we will just add not so we can make a negative sentence. Let's read the following. We were not. We weren't. You were not. You weren't. They were not. They weren't. Very good, everyone. It's also the same with making questions. So, of course, for singular pronouns, we will use the verb was. And for plural pronouns, we will use the verb were. Now, let's read the following sentences and find out their verbs. Let's begin with number 1. Last year, Rachel was 22, so she is 23 now. Last year, Rachel was 22, so she's 23 now. So, we use both past and present tense of the verb here. For the first clause, we can see was. Why? Because Rachel was 22 last year. So that means it's already in the past tense. That's why we used was. But here, on the other clause, we're talking about her age now. She is 23 now. So that means we will use the verb is. Let's go on to the second one. When I was a child, I was afraid of dogs. When I was a child, I was afraid of dogs. So in this sentence, we use the verb was. That means it's already in the past tense. Why? Because this happened when the speaker was still a child, but now he's an adult. And also, when he was a child, he was afraid of dogs. So maybe now that he's an adult, he's not afraid of dogs anymore. Next one. We were hungry after the journey, but we weren't tired. We were hungry after the journey, but we weren't tired. So here, as you can see, we use the verbs were. So, after the journey, the people were hungry, but they weren't tired. So it's already in the past tense. Next one. The hotel was comfortable, but it wasn't expensive. The hotel was comfortable, but it wasn't expensive. So here, we know that this happened in the past because the verb used was the word or the verb was. So the hotel was comfortable, but it wasn't expensive. Was the weather nice when you were on holiday? Was the weather nice when you were on holiday? So, this question is asking about the holiday. It's in the past tense because the speaker was asking what happened during the holiday. So, that's why the speaker used was and were. Your shoes are nice. Were they expensive? Your shoes are nice. Were they expensive? So here, we use the verb were. So the speaker is asking if the shoes were expensive the time that you bought them. So that's why we use the verb were. Why were you late this morning? Why were you late this morning? Here, we use the verb were because, of course, the time is this morning. And of course, we can see or we can know that the time is different now. So, the verb should be were because the action happened this morning. Now, students, I want you to review this lesson and memorize everything that you learned. I would like to encourage you to enroll in Camglish.com's classes because we can definitely help you improve your English skills. Now, this is the end of our lesson. I hope you learned something. Please review and we will have practices about this lesson. So this is Teacher Jen from Camglish.com saying goodbye and see you on your next video. Goodbye.